All right, so what we're doing this morning is we're kind of stopped on the body work at the moment. It's quite damp out and we got some other stuff going on. So we just have a little time to kill this morning. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some brackets. Sorry, it's pretty dark here. We're gonna make some brackets to move the seat back approximately 3 inches. It sucks being tall and lanky. These factory seats are up really far. Now in the bench seat, what I would do is I would move it back 4 inches to the other side of the brackets, the floor brackets. But these are bucket seats, so what we're going to do is make some extension brackets to move them back. I'll have to do some kind of, because as you can see there, it's kind of dark. It's about a 1/2 inch off the floor to keep it level. So the thing is to do this square and as level as possible so the brackets still move, so you can still slide them back and forth. So if somebody shorter than me does drive it, they can still pull the seat up. But we already started on this, and I'm just going to show you real quick. So what we did was took some 1/4 inch by 1.5 inches and marked it off 4 inches, then punched holes 1/2 inch in on each side. And what we're doing is tapping the one side, so we'll put a bolt up. Basically this will all get cut off into sections, and then we'll screw a bolt up through, and it'll be just like having a stud in it. And then your bracket, your seat will go on there. This will go over the existing stud with a lock nut and a washer, so it moves it back approximately 3 inches. Well, it should be right on 3 inches, right on 3 inches, because we did lay it all out. So just wanted to show you what I'm doing here is tapping. We're using the drill. Start it, back it off. It's just easier. Should be doing it by hand, but it's not a real, whoops, see, don't do that. Should be doing it with 2 hands. Don't do it 1 hand. Don't try to film and show off and drill with 1 hand. You hurt yourself. All right, we haven't gotten hurt yet. That's a good thing. But like I said, what we're gonna do is cut these off here, and then we'll reprime and we'll paint them probably flat black, so they're kind of hidden. But still got to drill these holes out to 5/16, but we just wanted to get these tapped and go ahead. All right, we'll show you once we get them cut out and made up a little better. All right, so we got our pieces made up. That's what they look like. Oh, we got help today. Checking it out, Boo. So what will happen is that'll go on like that, get bolted down like that, and then this piece will go on like that. And what that does is move it exactly back 3 inches, center to center. Still got to get some more bolts, but the other ones will go like that. I'll put a spacer underneath there, or what I might do is put the head of the bolt, leave it down, and that way it'll, same here, the head of the bolt, so use a longer bolt basically with all threads. But that'll move everything back 3 inches, which would be nice. And that stud seems a little short. I don't know why. Gotta see what's under the carpet, but that'll move it back and give us tall, lanky people a little more room. Like my buddy Scott says, I'm a freak of nature. Of course, he's 5'2" and 150 pounds, so he's the total opposite. So, but yeah. Like I said, these cars weren't made for people that were 6'4", especially back in the day. I guess everything was made for people between 5'8" and 5'10" and 175 pounds. So, but yeah, we got that done. Took about an hour, not bad. And we'll get going on something else here. Weather's kind of crappy today. We'll do a little bit of body work. Still want to replace that hinge, but unfortunately I got to pull that fender back off. So kind of don't really want to do that. I spent a lot of time getting that aligned, so not sure what I'm going to do there. I don't know if anybody in the comments knows how to get that clicking to stop on the hinge. It's this piece right here that moves. It's not the hinges, or well, it is the hinges, but it's not the pins. See, it's totally tight, but every time you hear it, because that piece, that spring, it just hits it and it moves just that little bit and clicks. Very annoying. Don't like that stuff. So, all right, we will show you when we get something else done. All right, well, we're back from vacation. Had a week up in Maine. Nice getaway, a little change of pace. Helps my ADD out. As you can see, the boat is out of here. We decided kind of not to sell the boat. And so yesterday I drained the fuel out, fired it right up. It fired right up. I was pretty amazed. And it spun the carrier bearing going through the hull. So needless to say, we had to take the whole out drive off, take everything off, drive shaft. This piece had locked up, I guess from sitting. It was sitting for 2 years, and spun it, which spun this, which spun off in the hull. Having a little issue because I'm not 100% sure on the part. I ordered a couple things off Amazon. I figured, well, I can always return the stuff. But there's the out drive, there's the drive shaft. So we got a couple things and just another project that we need because we don't have enough projects. But what we did a little soul searching over the week off, and we are gonna do the body work on this. If we're gonna paint the whole thing, we might as well try to do it, as that's what we do. As you can see, you know, there's no rust or anything, but the body work is a little less desired than they did. So we're going to try to fix that up. Unfortunately, I'd love to replace this door. I don't have a door. I have a door for that side and a fender for that side, but going to see what we can do with this door. But if we're going to paint the whole thing, I hate to get involved in these stripes, but they're not right anyway. So I figure, you know, why not just get more involved, because that's what we do. So we just jacked it up so we can work on it. Take the wheels off. We're going to take these moldings off, stick them in the trunk with everything else, then sand all this down. You know, most of this, you know, there's really no rust on the car at all. It's just some poor body work. You can see some checking here. And is that filler that's checked, or is it just the paint? It's hard to tell, but we're going to sand it down. My original thoughts were I have a really good fender for this side. Instead of messing with the body work, just replace the fender. If I can do something with this hinge without taking everything back apart again, if I can make that hinge okay, I'll keep this fender. Because in order to take the fender off, you got to take the hood back off, got to take the fender back off, then to get to the hinges, because it's just very difficult. You can do it, but so like I said, it's just getting deeper and deeper. You know, like I said, there's no rust on the car. So, you know, do we paint it the vermilion red that it is, or do we go rally red? I don't know. This seam wasn't very good from the factory. That's how they were in the 60s and 70s. They weren't perfect, but we're gonna try to make it pretty good. Trunk is good except for a few little places here. I might pop this out and weld them. There's a little crack there, but you know, all in all, most of the panels are really pretty decent. I just got to spend some time on them. There's a few cracks, I think, and I think I pointed this out before, where there were molding holes, because this car is technically a Cutlass S, so it would have one molding down like my blue car had, and they just filled the holes with filler, which is a no-no. You don't want to do that. You need to weld them in and then smear a little over so they don't crack. Because you can see just a little bit there. So I might pop them through, weld them in, and then smear filler over them. But like I said, this door is going to be, I think, the biggest challenge because it's not in the greatest of shape. If I paint it and do everything, then I know what paint it is. I'm not going to go any kind of custom color. That's for darn sure, because I don't know what we're gonna, are we gonna keep the car? Probably not, but if we do down the road and all of a sudden it starts bubbling through or something, then I can fix it and, you know, locate a door. I do still need a good passenger door for that project, which is nowhere near going anywhere. We know that. So, all right, enough rambling. We're gonna get sanding. We're gonna take these wheels off. Got the batteries charging. Well, I guess I could, my air compressor does reach out here, but I'm just using the battery impact. So, all right, we'll show you when we get some. All right, so we pretty much took everything out of the trunk. We popped through these holes where there used to be a benzol on there that they had filled. We popped these through. Here, we ground them down to bare metal. Here, that's where the Cutlass S molding bolted onto. What we're going to do is we are going to fill them with weld, because when you fill them with filler, they expand and contract too much and then they crack. And 80% of them, like everything else on this channel, 80% of them were cracked. So we popped them out, and I'm not sure why that's on an angle. Like, well, I guess it was from the factory, but whatever. Can't find a hole there. Maybe somebody welded it in. Found that one there, and what they did was, like I said, they bonded over them, and that's just not the way you do it. And like I said, by no means this is a concourse restoration, but if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna try to make it so it doesn't crack again. That's the whole idea. So like I said, we got everything cleaned out of here. We put everything nice and neatly stacked in there. And the project's just getting deeper. So it is what it is, but we're going to try to stay focused on this one and get it done. I mean, I took the rear bumper off too. I'm still debating. The front bumper is a lot harder to get off. I'd rather not take it off, but really to get behind here, you kind of have to. I don't know what I'm going to do there, but we'll decide at a later date. So making progress very slowly. Like I said, we took all the trim off, so everything's off now that has to be off. All the lights, everything. We're not going to pull the front end apart. We're not going to pull these out, because you kind of have to take the fender off to get them off. I'll tape them off neatly, try to get into here. I mean, it is red behind there anyway, so it's not a big deal, but we did take this molding off because we got to reset it. So all right, quick update, and let's do a little welding, get these holes filled in. All right, so that took less than an hour. Got these holes filled in. Also sanded the stripes off. Got to do some filler work, of course, where the holes were. Ground them down flat. I'm suspecting there might be 2 here. I don't know for sure yet. Got to investigate. There were 3 here. Like I said, we got to do a little filler work and also finish them off on the inside. You don't have to do filler, just grind them down flat. This way, when you, like in here, I'm going to undercoat and spray on a full restoration. Like I would, like on the convertible, I would sand that down and then put a smear of filler over it and then do the trunk paint. But same thing here, just grind them down flat. Takes literally 5 minutes. And yeah, so like I said, all of the stripes are gone, and we're gonna start doing some touch up on filler and get sanding. We want to, I guess total I'm in now today probably 4 hours worth of work, but I took the moldings off, I cleaned the trunk, I did a bunch of other stuff, but it all does take time, that's for sure. Fenders on this car are pretty solid, except for, of course, we had that dent there that we banged out. But oh, look who shows up when the camera's on. So all right, we're gonna start sanding some more and do more filler. All right, we are really involved in this project. We ended up sanding this whole quarter panel. As you can see, we sanded this. We're going to reshape this. We redid that. Spent a couple hours doing that. We still have to do filler there. Not a big deal, but we got into this quarter panel, had to do a little fabricating. I was suspicious about this wheel well, and it looks like possibly back in the 70s, early 80s, somebody had done something because they brazed they brazed parts in there, pieces in there. You know, back then that's how you did it. I think it was done in the 70s or 80s because as far as I know, I mean, I know even in the late 80s we were starting to MIG stuff, but a lot of people didn't have a MIG. But by the 90s, everybody was MIG welding and, you know, wire feed welding anyway. Maybe not MIG, but wire feeding. So I think these repairs were done many, many years ago because the patch panels that they put in actually rotted through. So that tells me the car has been done, and I can tell by different layers the car has been redone at minimum of 2 times, maybe 3. You can tell by our sand line and our prime line what's going on. Trying to get this wheel opening straight. Really struggling with this. Been messing with it for about 2.5 days on and off. I get frustrated easily and walk away. So what I'm up against now is I thought I had this wheel arch pretty close, you know, 80% like we usually do. But when I clamped the wheel opening molding on, you can see how much that's off. And what they did was they had filled it with filler. They put that much filler in here. And I you know, like I said, you can't do that much filler. That's just not, you know, you got to do the metal work to get it close. Like all this I had tapped out. I had welded these holes in. You can see there's a skim coat. Here it's about 1/8 inch, which is about the maximum that I really want to do, but it's turning into a fabrication project. I ended up welding a panel in there where I chipped it out. This quarter doesn't appear to be as bad, but we don't really know. The wheel opening is right, except for it's high right there. I put X's where they're high, zeros where they're low. But as you can see, we chipped out there. Can't see, it's probably kind of dark, but we'll put a piece in there. Like all these seams are good, but I don't know. It's really becoming a challenge. This car is just turning into, I mean, it's still a great start, but I didn't plan on getting this involved. I thought it was going to be a kind of little bodywork, sand and paint. I didn't originally think I was even going to paint it, but like I keep telling everybody, especially Denise, this is why I walked away from the car originally, because I didn't want to get involved in a big project, and it's turning into a big project like everything else. And I have plenty of big projects, as we know. So I don't know, just wanted to update you. Haven't picked up the camera in about 3 days because I've been very frustrated with this. Luckily I have multiple other cars to go off of, so like this quarter's hung. I had done that, so I know the opening's right, so I'm going off of that. I'm going off the convertible in the shop, so I know what the wheel opening's supposed to look like. So I don't know, we'll pick you up when we actually get somewhere. But like I said, I think I'm gonna have to do more fabricating on this opening, but we'll get it. I'm gonna try to keep pushing through this. This is very hard for my ADD because you get frustrated. So I got all the parts in for the boat, still got to put that back together. That's a good project to that's, you know, half a day's worth of work. It's not a big deal, so it'll get me off of this when I get frustrated. So all right, enough rambling. Let's start doing some more fabrication. All right, I think we got this figured out. The zeros, the dots mean low, that means high. We went along, marked a bunch of stuff off. You know, things look straight and they seem straight, but when you ultimately put the trim on, that's the thing, it doesn't look straight, and that's the final piece. So technically that's the most important part, is the final product. So got to build this up a little bit here. Got to build this up a little bit here. That has to be tapped down a little more. It's pretty good though. Just has to be leveled off. And then this here has to be filled. What we did was we cut this piece out because when they fabricated this piece, they didn't, it's supposed to be recessed in from the factory. Well, when they fabricated it, and I didn't realize that when I started doing this, this is one coat of filler that hasn't been sanded yet. That's why it looks so much. But what we did is we cut it out and we urethaned a piece on the inside, used urethane. I wasn't going to try to weld it just because there's too much going on. There's undercoating and filler and urethane in there already, so urethane works really good. And once we put the short strand filler over it, that'll tighten everything up. But hopefully we can get it pretty straight. Like I said, as you can see, we got it all clamped on. It's on the inside anyway, and then we'll do some urethane caulk on the inside so you'll never feel it. And I'm a big advocate about in here being able to run your hand along here and not get cut, not feel any stuff. See, there's still something right there that we got to get to, because I mean, obviously the car has filler. All cars that are 50 years old generally have filler. There's no way to avoid it, but you don't want it to stand out like a sore thumb. That's the whole thing. So making headway slowly. This stuff takes a lot of time, a lot of fabrication. I'm sure it goes faster if you have a real shop and you really know what you're doing. Like I said, I've done this before for many years, but we're gonna call it. We just messed with this for a couple hours, and we'll go from there.